current developments at CSCS. You perhaps all know that we have some upgrades coming up. So I want to give you a brief overview of what's coming and when it is coming. So Monte Rosa, our large machine, will be upgraded very soon to the newest processor by AMD. This is the so-called Interlagos processor, which has some peculiarities. I will show them later to you. We will upgrade only 16 out of the 20 cabinets because of power consumption reasons. The current building simply cannot power more than these 16 cabinets. When the upgrade is over, we will have a machine with almost 48,000 cores and a 400 teraflop peak performance. The memory is almost 50 terabytes on that machine. And it's not just the processor that will be changed, we will also change the interconnect to the new generation called Gemini. Some of you had access to Piz Palu, the XA6 machine. Will know this interconnect and will know its advantages. It offers simply much better scalability than the current C-Star interconnect. When we upgrade Rosa, we have this concept that we have always a smaller machine sitting aside of the large production machine, which exhibits certain features of the next generation that we expect to come. So that you, when you develop codes, when you test things, can work on a more future-proof platform, basically. So that means we upgrade Monte Rosa, and then we have to upgrade Piz Palu as well. And this will be a significant change, not just as in the last time a new processor, AMD or so again. And that's why we decided we are going to change the name as well. Simply to make it clear that this is a completely different architecture, that you don't have scripts that are, have some Palu statement in it, and then you try to run on it and it doesn't work. This machine will be called Tödi. It's basically upgrading the 2 cabinets of Piz Palu. And this will be then upgraded with blades that have 1 Interlagos processor and 1 NVIDIA GPU on the node. So this will have 140 teraflops aggregate peak, out of which 117 are on the GPUs. And Cray provides us a special development environment for this machine. Sadaf will go into details later on this. The 32 is in red in the memory line here, because in the previous slide, which I showed the user assembly, early this year, we had still 16 gigabytes there. We've now doubled this because we realized for certain applications it may be useful to have more memory on the node simply to be able to fill the GPU later. Okay, and then a third machine that is currently being upgraded is Julia. Not many of you may be aware that we have a small cluster called Julia. Currently, it consists of 2 fat nodes, which have I think 256 gigabytes of RAM. Now we will add some thin nodes to it to make it larger. And these thin nodes will have 2 Intel Xeon processors and 48 gigabytes RAM each. The idea here is to have an additional machine to Monte Rosa where you can compute on, because you have to realize now 1 single node is 32 cores. And we see that some of you run, let's say, pre- and post-processing smaller auxiliary jobs with your large computational jobs. You need a full node because we can allocate only node-wise on Rosa. And you probably would waste a lot of your allocation with this. And therefore, we offer Julia as let's say, a second system that you can use where you can burn your allocation on for these smaller things. Of course, you will not be able to burn your full allocation there. There are some restrictions. But the important thing here is you will be accounted on a per core basis, not on a per node basis. Okay, the Gemini interconnect is the same slide which I showed in spring. And as I said, it's already in Piz Palu, currently active. Some of you know it. It has a much better scalability, simply because it has more links. Actually, it is a high radix router that is implemented. It has adaptive routing, so there's less congestion on links. and it has a much higher message rate, and that enables certain things, in particular one-sided communication and PGAS languages are supported on this machine. The Interlagos processor is a special beast. It first sounds like it would be a 16-core processor. It is a 16-core processor, but it's built out of 8 2-core modules. And a module means 2 integer units, 2 SSE units, and they are, let's say, fed to the same scheduling pipe. And then you can have one core grabbing the 2 SSE units and all kinds of things. So it's a particular processor. It also supports AVX instructions, so the new set of SSE instructions, basically. It has its own multiply, add, fused multiply, add instructions. It's FM4 instructions and so on. So the compiler that you use has to support these instruction sets in order to get the performance. And we will have a school, programming school, 2 or 3 days, you will see this later, to introduce this processor and the Cray development environment in order to let you take the advantage out of this processor. What is the schedule? Julia, as I said, is currently been upgraded, so it should be available around the 1st of October in its extended form. 30 is the first machine that will be shipped by Cray, simply because it has less AMD Interlagos and they still have problems to deliver enough. And so shipment is planned for the 14th of October. It will arrive on the 21st, and we think 1 week later we can hand it back to you. Monte Rosa is planned to be shipped a week later. And that means we will, once again, a week later, around the 28th, maybe start to upgrade. But that would take a little bit longer because there are more cabinets to be worked on. And because we change also the interconnect, there's more work to be done. So the current estimate is around the 7th of November, maybe 8th or so. We will have the machine back in production. We will offer 2 programming classes for the 2 major machines, an introduction to Interlagos and Gemini programming, and this is already scheduled for the 7th and 9th of November. John Levesque, who you probably know, some of you already, will give this class. John Levesque is from Cray. And we also are going to offer a Cray hybrid programming environment class sometime early 2012. We have push this a little bit into the future simply because this will be very new hardware. This is the 30 is the first XK6 worldwide to be shipped. It's a new programming environment coming from Cray. We don't know how well it works. We will have to learn ourselves, and it's probably worth to wait a few months to see how everything works out. Now, because we have currently a call for proposals open, I want to mention just one additional thing. Be aware, in our call for proposal this time, which ends when? Does it end? 14th of October. Until that time, you can still turn in your new proposals. There are some changes, because you cannot only apply for Monte Rosa and turn in production projects. You can also now turn in a new class of project called development projects. So this is targeted at people who want to develop codes and do test runs, basic test cases, in order to do code development instead of doing production. Means studying a certain system in very detail. We do a distinction between these two things because then the reviewers have a better idea of what you really want to do, and then the reviews really, take in the right dimensions into account. And also, we can open all the machines basically for this kind of activity. And we will look also at the batch queuing system to offer the right, ways that you always can get these 2 different workloads through development projects and production projects. Also, what I want to recall, we have now data analytics systems where you can apply to use them. We have this SGI ultraviolet with 2 terabytes of shared memory if you have a large data set to be loaded into RAM. You can apply for these systems as auxiliary systems to a production or development project on Monte Rosa. The other possibility is the Matterhorn system. It's the next generation XMT Cray system. It's also once again one of these, serial number ones that is typically delivered to CSCS. This is for massively multi-threaded applications that do data structuring, building trees and things like pointer chasing and so on. It supports on its 64 processors more than 1,000 hardware threads and has also 2 terabytes of globally shared memory. In addition, we have a machine that some of you already know. It's Eiger. It's a visualization cluster that you also can use as a GPU programming cluster if you want to test more standard environments compared to the Cray environment. And Julia, this fat and thin node mix cluster, is also available, as I said before. Another development that is maybe interesting for some of you, we did also something on the data side in the last months, and we will do also in the next months. In particular, Scratch file system, we are going to increase this on Monte Rosa. If we double the compute capacity, of course, the Scratch file system has to grow in terms of bandwidth and capacity as well. So this is 420 terabytes after the upgrade. And please, I just want to recall this, Scratch is a shared resource between all of you. This is for temporary storage, and it's wiped regularly by the system. When your files get old, if you touch your files to pretend that they are not old, we will find it out, and we don't like that. Okay, everything else left to Maria Grazia. She will act then. Okay, project is where you had your data management space. You have to estimate your needs on /project when you turn in your proposal. Please do so. Do some thinking what you really need there. So you get an allocation, which means it has quota. This quota is a shared quota within the research group for the project. And we have also here done some upgrades. So the total volume or available capacity on project is 2.1 petabytes. What is very important, very soon we'll have also a backup functionality there. So that means if we lose that file system, the data will be backed up on tape and we can restore it again. So this is going to happen over the next 2-3 months. Finally, a new file system that we've introduced this year is called Store. And this is the possibility for you, if you have data that you produce at CSCS and your project is over and you still want to maintain this data, you don't want to move it out of CSCS, you may want to do some data analysis still on our systems, you can buy into this. And this is available actually as a matching fund agreement, so you don't have to buy you don't have to pay 100%. You pay only 50% of that. It's a very large file system. It's once again based on GPFS, but it has a combination of 2.2 petabytes on disk and up to 8 petabytes on tape. But this is transparent, so you put it on this file system. If you don't use your file for a long time, it's automatically migrated on tape. Once you use it again, it's moved back again on disk. And here we try to get into contractual agreements. We already have one in place with the climate community, and we're looking forward to work with you also on this domain in the future.